Hi, everyone. I hope you're well. This Shabbat, we're speaking about values and ethics. A bit of a diversion or intermission from Leviticus's commitment to talking about purity laws and the tabernacle, or maybe not. Maybe the whole point is that purity really begins in some very intimate, profound, personal, interpersonal ways, namely the way we think about and talk to each other. Here it says in this very famous passage in 1917, you shall not hate your brother in your heart. You shall surely reproach your neighbor, and you shall bear no sin because of him. So here are a few quick thoughts about this passage. One is that you notice that values are not just about what you do, but they're about what you think and about what you feel, right? Don't hate your brother in your heart. In other words, how are you really feeling about someone with whom you're close? There's got to be a transition. There's got to be a connection from your thoughts and feelings to the way you behave, right? That is to say, you shall surely reproach your neighbor, meaning if they've done something to you, at least in your view, and you are forming a judgment about it, you have certain feelings about it, that should then generate action, meaning you should reproach them. And finally, the really interesting connection in your heart and in your mind and in the actual content of the relationship between being upset with somebody, reproaching them, and bearing no sin because of them. What does that really mean? I think what it really means is that, and this is not going to make happy those of you who think that silence is always golden. I think the Jewish approach, the Torahitic approach, is really the opposite, which is that you've got to confront somebody, which is a painful process and a scary process and an uncertain process. You have to confront your own feelings and reactions and responses to what you've witnessed and maybe experienced. You've got to have the integrity to form a judgment about that based upon your values. You've got to reflect upon that. You've got to confront the other person, which hopefully will lead to a change in behavior of them, and in some ways of yourself too, because the act of seeing that in somebody else might lead you to think, well, I do that as well. And I think it's interesting because in the French, reproach really means to draw close again, meaning the act of doing what I just said, namely taking on a kind of a negative, angry, hurt scenario and dealing with it candidly, transparently with somebody else, actually enables you, and the purpose of it on some level is not just to change the other person, but maybe in a more even important way is to change the relationship you have with them. And what can be better than that? So I wish you all a Shabbat Shalom and a lot of courage when it comes to dealing with judgment and reproach.